Hello, everyone. Welcome. Myself and Paul Kelly. We are back. We're in slightly different guys. It's still the preview mode, but we are here in final prediction mode, really, for the fight that's taking place on Sunday night in Bournemouth International Centre in Bournemouth, WBO World Cruiserweight title between Chris BILLAM-Smith and his opponent MATEUSZ MASTERNAK. Now, Paul, we're going to do a little bit before we give our prediction. We're going to sort of, I suppose, have a little sort of discussion on how we think the fight's going to play out, where we are, some of the themes that have developed. I suppose the thing for me is we touched on this, obviously, you and I in our preview. We talked, I think we both at that point obviously had BILLAM-Smith as a favourite. What I was going to ask you, though, actually, is I've seen a lot of reaction on the socials. I've seen a lot of people actually starting to put money on MASTERNAK. A lot of people think that MASTERNAK actually might be too good for BILLAM-Smith. And the question I'm going to ask you really is do you see any sense in that? Do you see the possibility of MASTERNAK outboxing BILLAM-Smith? Where do you rank MASTERNAK on BILLAM-Smith's record? Would he be the best victory that he's had? How are you able to rationalise that? And is that, is a closening of the fight in that way something you would also agree with, or are you still favouring BILLAM-Smith?
Yeah, thanks, mate, for that eloquent breakdown. It is very interesting, and you're going straight in there with a tough question. I think similarly to what we said and what we alluded to in the Prograis Haney big fight breakdown is I think my final prediction has kind of changed as the fights got closer. And what you said, I completely agree. I'm seeing a lot of more people saying, you know what, Masternak is a very good professional. His last two defeats came years ago against Dorticus and then obviously Bellew, both which were on points, I believe. Yes, he's had five defeats, only one stoppage in there. But yes, he hasn't fought at a great level the last few years, but he's probably been biding his time waiting for that world title shot because he is a big name, a reasonably big name. He's probably a big name in Poland, of course, as well. And do you know what, mate? He is. If you look at it ability wise, it's really tough, nice work for Chris BILLAM-Smith. Think that you've got to have a Coley as BILLAM-Smith's best win last time out, obviously, because at the time, not a lot of people gave BILLAM-Smith a chance, given how Coley, yes, maybe not the he's maybe a bit of an ugly fighter sometimes and not great to watch, but he was effective. And a lot of people had Okoli as the number one cruiserweight in the world for the emergence of perhaps Jai Albataya. But given that CBS beat him, yeah, you've got to have that up there. However, if he's to beat MATEUSZ Masternak, I think that's got to be a top three win for Miss BILLAM-Smith. You've obviously got the Isaac Chamberlain one up there, he's obviously the British champion now and looking to fight Cieslak for the European title, so that's a good win. But apart from those two, you got Tommy McCarthy up there, but think Masternak's going to hit the top three. I think you got Masternak, Masternak, Okoli, and Chamberlain, the top three wins, and obviously Okoli being the most difficult. Obviously, he has to win the fight though. It's no foregone conclusion. I think you mentioned there about late money going on Masternak. Yeah, he's a 3-1 underdog here. There's massive value from a betting perspective. I think there's way more value in backing Masternak here than there is backing BILLAM-Smith. So yeah, it's an interesting one, mate. And yeah, interested to hear your predictions at the end because I think my mind's kind of changed. Think you're on mute
Sorry,
there,
Paul, I
Elliot.
was, I was muted myself there to cover some background noise and to give you unfiltered access to the microphone. But what I was going to say to you actually is, without giving your predictions away, obviously, thank you for that breakdown. I agree with the three fights you literally mentioned there. Without saying who you think is going to win necessarily, you're saying the decision was narrowing and there's maybe a bit of ambiguity. But what I was going to ask you is that Masnak's a guy with 31 KOs in his 47 victories. BILLAM-Smith's a guy with 12 KOs out of his 18 victories. Do you see this fight going the distance, Paul, or do you think it will finish prematurely? Without saying who you think is going to win, that's what I'm asking you first and foremost.
Mate, I was 99% sure this fight was going to go the distance, and I'm probably still about 85 to 90% sure it goes the full 12 rounds. However, my opinion's changed a little bit. I'm sure we'll come on to that after this. But yeah, mate, I think if you look at BILLAM-Smith, yes, he's got a 66% knockout ratio. But actually, if you look at his last seven fights, five have gone the distance. Yeah, he got those knockdowns against the Coley, but that went the distance. Chamberlain went the distance. First McCarthy fight went the distance. Vassal Dukar went the distance. His only knockouts were that second one against Tommy McCarthy, and then the one before his last fight where he knocked out that European challenger in sensational fashion out cold. Then you look at Masternak as well, and I think, yeah, he's got quite a lot of knockouts, but at what level have those recent ones come at? When he's been at the European slash fringe world level, they've all gone the distance. So yeah, I think I'm favouring this to go the 36 minutes, mate. But yeah, what about yourself?
You know what I do? I do think it's going to go 36 minutes as well, and I'm not going to spoil what is going to be now the next question to you, which is prediction time now, Paul. And I'm going to have to lean it on you first to say who do you think is going to win this one. I do think it's going to go the distance. I think you're, like you say, also at the viewpoint it's going to go the distance with slightly less confidence potentially than beforehand, but still of that, overwhelmingly in favour of that outcome. Paul, Sunday night, Bournemouth, points, who wins and how?
On the spot now, mate. But yeah, I am going to stick with what I originally said and say Billam Smith to win on points. But, and there's a big but here, Masternack hasn't fought someone like Billam Smith in a while. Billam Smith obviously hasn't fought anyone really of the level, bar a Coley of Masternack. So the reason I'm not 100% sure is the fact that it wouldn't surprise me if Masternack was ahead on the cards, getting to round 8, round 9, and potentially get stopped by Billam Smith. I know Billam Smith's not a huge puncher, like a huge puncher in the division, but he knocked a Coley down a few times and has got, big knockouts on his resume. Masternack's obviously getting on a little bit now. I think he's 36, 37. Hasn't fought at this level for years. Has been inactive, hasn't fought in 14, 15 months. So, sometimes your chin could maybe just go, and that with him being a little older and more inactive, he has not used to getting punched in the face as much this past couple of years. So that's kind of where my mind's at. I'll go. I'm about 65% sure it goes 65 to 70% sure points. So I'm going to go with that, but I'm not 100% confident.
Yeah, no, I think it is interesting. Actually, I think I'm kind of actually thinking that eloquent prediction. I actually kind of agree with you. I think for me, it's obviously the fact it's in Bournemouth. The fact is, on the show that's on the billing, it's in the location. It's in Massenak's almost going to have to win 8, 9 rounds convincingly probably to get points decision against Billam Smith. So that for me is why I'm leaning heavily towards Billam Smith as well on points. I also think, like you say, Massenak's not fought at the world level, but it's going to sound horrible to say this, but I'm not actually personally convinced that Billam Smith's a world level fighter himself in some ways. And that sounds really harsh to say, but I almost feel like Coley is. I'd still back Coley to beat him tomorrow if they fought again. Like, I thought the way that fight worked and the way the kind of ref was and the way it kind of, he's breaking up the clinches a lot, all that sort of business as well. It didn't favour Coley really, but they're not going straight into the rematch. So I'd still actually have a Coley above Billam Smith. But I feel like Massenak will still have enough. I agree with you. I think there's been a lot of fights, 50 plus fights. Again, like that resilience, that general sort of conditioning, how present is it at this stage of his career? But I think he'll probably have enough kind of cuteness, as it were, to kind of not get stopped. So that's why I'm leaning towards Billam Smith on points. I can see it being cards being fairly convincing, to be honest, sort of 117 sort of cards, 118 cards, something like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight. And to be honest with you, I like Chris Billam Smith, the gentleman. So yeah, hopefully onwards on after this, there'll be bigger fights. Paul, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. I want to say thank you very much for your time. Obviously, you and I, we filmed another fight for this weekend, the super fight predictions for that one for Haney for Gray. Check out that video, obviously, if you want to hear how we're picking that one. Let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with us on our predictions here, whether you think it'll be premature, whether you think it'll be a stoppage rather than points, or whether you think Billam Smith will win, whether you're, war Masternack. And then obviously check out the channel as well for other stuff. We've got, big fight breakdowns and written reviews and previews on the channel as well. Check those out. But Paul, again, thank you very much for joining me. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.